Have you ever thought about playing Path of Exile, or you already play but try to convince a friend to play it? You're always gonna hear the same answer. This game's so hard, it is so complicated. I'm trying to convince my friends to play it. And I also want to stream it in this time for the patch 3.19 on my Twitch channel that you really should check out. But every time I try to get someone into playing it, they always give me the same answer. With this beginner guide, I really want to make your start into the game a bit easier and show you that this game is rather complex instead of complicated. The most common fear about this game is the amount of things you can do. Many people think you need a master's degree in astroscience to know everything about the game, but you don't. The most important takeaway of this video should be, you don't need most of the things in this game, so don't get overwhelmed. Let's look into the game itself first. Path of Exile has a story campaign that you need to finish until you reach the endgame grind. This campaign is designed to get you into the game and teach you a lot, but also can be the deal breaker for a lot of new players. As soon as you finish the campaign, you work on equipping better gear, farming maps with increasing difficulty, and defeat the strongest bosses in the game. The game is season based, meaning that every 3 months there is a new mechanic added to the game. Over the course of the years, there have been a lot of mechanics stacked up on top of each other that scares a lot of people away. If you are still watching this video and decide to give Path of Exile still a shot, we should talk about how to start the game. Don't just play something right away without knowing where this should lead you in the long way. By watching a leak starter video, you get some cool ideas of what character you could play. Maybe you're into shooting some lightning arcs into enemies that jump over, spin to win and just murder everything like this. Flicker Strike can cause nausea, but if you are into this, no, don't do it. This is a meme. But just as an example. I'll link the video for leak starters of last season in the video description and will update it as soon as the new season 3.19 is about to start. You will find a lot of guides for the specific character that look best to you, and you should follow them. They will tell you with what class you should start, what talents to choose, what gear and what abilities to use. You can play Path of Exile with a season character or just standard, but you will be most interested in the newest season probably. You can also opt in for hardcore, but this is probably not what you're looking for when you watch this video. Hardcore means if you're dead, you're dead. You have to start over again. Solo self-fund is also an option, probably not viable to you. It restricts the possibility to play with your friends or trade with other players. Choose a character that you wanted to do and opt in for season softcore, not hardcore or solo self-fund. I promise you, up to this point this game is pretty similar to games like Diablo. You see something cool on someone else, you decide to play the same thing and orient yourself after the talents, gear and spells that they are using. We should cover some basics. Your character will have no abilities. In this game, you have gems that you put into your gear that will give you a spell that you can use. Everyone can use every ability, as long as you equip it into your gear. Your talent tree is overwhelmingly big, but as like with other things in Path of Exile, you should not worry about it. As a witch, you start on the talent tree here, and as a Templar, you start over there. Ignore everything else. Just because you have a minibar in your hotel room doesn't mean you need to use it. This is the same with the talent tree in Path of Exile. When you start your journey, you will find your first weapon that automatically equips in your inventory. Kill your first enemy and it drops your first active skill gem. Those are active abilities that you will find in your action bar whenever you equip it into your gear. When you make your way through this beach zone, you find a glowing chest with another gem. This is a support gem. Support gems will support, empower your active skill gems when you put it into the same gear and those sockets have a link together. I'm able to throw fireballs now, and now my fireballs do more damage whenever I spend a certain amount of mana on it. You will encounter your first boss in the game pretty early, and he's a tough one. To defeat him, make sure you use your flask regularly. This game gives you 5 flask slots, and they refill pretty quickly after defeating just a few enemies. You will need to refill your mana, especially fighting this first tutorial boss. When you defeat your first boss, he drops you a lot of loot, as in every roleplay game you will have different rarity levels, starting from white to blue to yellow. Orange are unique legendaries that are not necessarily stronger than any other yellow item. If you step over an item during your adventure that has a high rarity like yellow, or maybe blue in the very early hours of your journey, pick it up and equip it. Ignore everything else for the beginning, otherwise you're gonna become too overwhelmed with all the loot you will find. You will be best off in the beginning if you just pick an item with a higher rarity and more sockets that are linked. The more sockets you can equip early in the game, it will be most likely more powerful than whatever is on that item. Combining your active gem with 2 support gems is more relevant than whatever is on that item itself. If you find items with yellow rarity that are also having multiple sockets that are also linked, you can consider yourself really lucky. Use a wisdom scroll to identify items. You will find these during your journey or from selling your garbage to the vendor. Also, pick up any so-called orbs you can find. Those orbs have unique mechanics that are important for crafting, but they are also count as currency in the game. We will talk later a little bit more about these orbs and go in detail what they can do. If you press U, you see the whole map of the campaign. Follow your quests and just try to clear all question marks on your map if possible. Practice will make you better, therefore I do not explain any speedrun strategies or which side quests are rather uninteresting. Rather go slow and kill a few enemies instead of sneaking through them to be fast. Whenever you level up, pick a new talent. Just follow what your build guide told you to do so. Feel free to read them if you want, it's never bad to know how more powerful you will be. Most guides for your character build will also offer you a leveling guide. You can easily follow these guides, use the abilities that they are telling you to use. You can get those gems from the vendor if needed. Just buy them and equip them into your gear and use the abilities that they tell you to use. Leveling up can be actually pretty hard, especially if you really don't know what you're actually doing. But especially if you fixate yourself in the long term on a certain character build, they will tell you how to do it and how to reach that point. If you still watch this video, I would really appreciate if you could smash that subscribe button to let me know if I might got someone more interested in testing out Path of Exile. Also, there are many leveling guides out there that go into details about how to quest more efficiently through the campaign, but I don't think this is necessarily what will convince you to get into this game in the first place. What really convinces you about Path of Exile is the endgame. This is the real deal. This is what Path of Exile is about and what might get you more excited into the game. Endgame already starts whenever you finish your last campaign boss. You can potentially reach 100 levels, but this is unreasonably hard to achieve. You will also not need to achieve this. I personally never felt the need to level higher than like 95. You start gathering more powerful gear than before, with more linked sockets than before. You start grinding more maps, collect more currency to buy better gear, and start fighting the strongest bosses in the game. The info that I will give you now are a bit more detailed, so feel free to pause the video and go back if you need these informations during your journey again. Your character might require some legendary items that are mandatory to unleash its full potential. Check your guide and look for currency to buy them from the official Path of Exile trade site. You trade with other players in the game. Currency in this game are those orbs you picked up during leveling. They also have special crafting effects from your gear. A jeweler's orb changed the amount of sockets on your gear. A chromatic orb changed the color of the sockets on your gear. And a fusing orb changed the links of the sockets on your gear. Just as an example. Getting an item that is just perfect for your character can be really grind heavy. Either you farm a lot of currency and buy it already in a perfect condition, or you can craft it yourself. To make it look easy for you right now, I suggest you to farm currency instead of crafting. Crafting should be a hobby on the side that you pursue and get into instead of your main focus. The only real crafting you should partake is in your crafting bench. You will find quite a few crafting recipes and can add them onto an item that has one of 6 potential stats on it still free. Every item has multiple stats. Your item will have up to 6 stats on it. They are differentiated in pre and suffixes, but it's not yet really important to know what the difference is. Your item might want to have more maximum life for your character, and this stat can have multiple ranks. If you're not having enough money to buy an item with the perfect stats on all max ranks, try to lower your expectations for the beginning. It is also important to have your resistances capped out. You want some items with fire, lightning and cold resistance, while you can most likely ignore chaos resistance. It is nice to have, but will not be relevant for most circumstances, especially to keep this guide as beginner friendly as possible. Poison damage, for example, counts as chaos damage, and you will receive more damage from poison attacks if you have no chaos resistance. But if you're missing just a few points of fire resistance instead, you will die pretty quick to something. Oh, did I already tell you that you will die a lot in this game? You will most likely never know how. You run through a map, everything works fine, and oops, you're dead. There is no death recap that tells you what happened, and that can lead to frustration. But let me explain to you what happens in 99% of the cases. You either die to a ground effect, or a ground effect in combination with taking damage, like shocking ground, increasing your damage taken by 50%, and a big hit from an enemy. You also most likely die on death effects when enemies die, or you try to open a chest and it suddenly has an effect on it that freezes you or just explodes. During your adventure through maps, you will encounter different mechanics from many leagues. This is the scary part of Path of Exile for new players. It feels like there are so many season mechanics that you don't know about. But don't worry, you can't do anything wrong. You can also choose to just not play them if you don't want to. You see a shiny mirror? If you walk through, everything goes mayhem. There can be cool loot, but if you decide to not play it, just don't play it. Cassia stands there and asks you to defend her. Wow, that's literally tower defense. If this is your thing, go for it, but you don't have to. You can decide your own gameplay with the new Atlas talent tree. The Atlas is like your campaign map just for the endgame. It's just a collection of all different maps you have discovered. With the Atlas tree, you can decide on what type of content you want to focus on. You can even decide to block certain content if you really don't like it. This tree looks overwhelming as well, and potentially on this one you could use a lot on this tree. But you should only focus on things that you enjoy. The tower defense stuff was absolutely your thing, ? Scale it. You unlock more stuff for the specific mechanic and you can focus your gameplay around it. Don't worry if you made a wrong choice with anything. Whether you chose a wrong talent or just want to try something new on the Atlas, you can always reverse your choices. It is really important to say again that all of those mechanics, if you're one who is claiming, I am coming too late to Path of Exile, I missed too many seasons, now it's too many mechanics, you really don't have to. Not even for crafting. Most of these mechanics that were introduced with a new season are completely irrelevant to you. They can add some spice to your gameplay, but they don't really have any effect on what you really need. It is really important for me to incentivize you that this game has a lot of possibilities, and if you really master it, there is so much to know it and so much to utilize, but you are really not in the need of using these. And for the end of this video, some quick advanced tips. To make trading easier, people use third-party software like Awakened PoE Trade. It will also show you in-game if the item you looted might be worth something. Path of Building Community Fork is the tool of your choice to get into more theory crafting of your character, to determine if one item is stronger than the other for your build. You can filter loot so it won't show you an incredible amount of trash on the floor, and only highlight the interesting items. I personally use Filterblade, link is in the description as well if you like. Empyrean Gaming, one of the most interesting softcore players, has an amazing video about 40 things he wished he knew earlier in the game. I will link it in the description as well before I talk about it myself for 40 minutes, but keep in mind that this already requires you to know the game already quite a bit and will not necessarily improve your first steps into the game, but rather improve some quality of life later on. Feel free to ask more questions in the comments or join my Twitch channel and ask me some questions if you might still have. Give the video a thumbs up or down whether you like it or not, and don't forget to smash the subscribe button. I wish you a fantastic time in this amazing game. It is free to play, so definitely worth giving it a try. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Those videos take a lot of time and effort, so please smash the like and subscribe button. I do this for a living, so if you want to support me in any way, please check out my Patreon or visit my own store, linked in the video description below. And in the meantime, you might want to watch one of these videos until I'm back. See you in the next one.